This is the little booklet included in the folder on the very back inside cover. It's called The Story of God Speaks, Its Origin, Development, Editing, and Publication. Early in his work as the Avatar of the Age, from July 13, 1925 through October 1926, Meher Baba wrote a book in his own hand. It is referred to as the secret book because Meher Baba would show it to no one. We have a note here. Baba did show a few pages to Mahatma Gandhi and to Adi K. Irani. And because it has never surfaced, I'll just reread that again. It is referred to as the secret book because Meher Baba would show it to no one, and because it has never surfaced. He worked on the book daily for months at a time during this period. Initially, he wrote it in the Jopti hut. Then he had a special table cabin constructed in which he did the majority of his work on the book. After finishing the book, for many years, Baba traveled with the manuscript. He kept it locked in a metal case, and one of the Mandali had to carry the case wherever Baba went. On August 7, 1927, Baba said of this book, quote, "The big book I have written will be the future Bible, Quran, Avesta, and Veda, as it will be universally accepted by all castes and creeds." Note that's in Lord Mayor, 3rd volume, page 954. In 1952, at Myrtle Beach, during his interview with Murshida Ivy Deuce and Francis Brabazon, Baba asked Murshida, "Did you see my chart, The 10 States of God? I dictated all the points to Dr. Ghani. He worked on it, and now I find half of it has not been included. Half has been just as I wanted. I have brought the manuscript here, and when I am free, I will go through the whole thing and make necessary changes. This book will be the first and last of its kind. Today I will show you just the chart on which the book, is based. And when it is ready, I might hand it over to you to publish." Third note, Lord Mayor, Volume 11, pages 3792 to 3793. This book was to become God Speaks. Baba went on in that 1952 interview to say of God Speaks what he had said in 1927 of the secret book. This book will be the Quran, Bible, Avesta of Baba, unique. Fourth note, Ibid 3793. It is initially startling to have Baba refer to God Speaks and the secret book he wrote in 1925-1926 in identical terms. In September 1967, Baba made it clear why he referred to these two books in identical terms. While Baba was dictating points to Bao that month, he would daily repeat that he had given 90% of the book he had written in 1925-26 in God Speaks, and the other 10% he was giving to Bao for the nothing and the everything. Erich would have to repeat this in the hall before the other men several times. Fifth note, Lord Mayor, Volume 20, 65, page 6535. These statements suggest that God Speaks is the final realization of 90% of the secret book. They also suggest the possibility that Meher Baba was developing and refining the material originally expressed in the secret book until it reached the desired culmination in God Speaks. Indeed, in 1926, Baba indicated that the secret book covered only short points that would be fully amplified and rewritten. Sixth note, Lord Mayor, Volume 3, page 878. One may wonder, why would Baba have to develop and refine the material? After all, he's God. However, Baba repeated over and over that the avatar has to work within the limitations of creation. He has to carefully craft his work to accommodate the limitations of mankind. The knowledge that he was trying to convey is beyond the scope of the ordinary intellect to grasp and understand. Even though these explanations are mere shadows of the real knowledge, they are beyond the mind to follow. That was a quote, Lord Mayor, page 835. Baba had to translate the real knowledge of unity into the world of duality, where knowledge is shattered into levels of ignorance. As the last avatar of the cycle, he was to summarize the spirituality of the prior avatars in the cycle and to reorganize, reorient, and refine that gnosis in order to introduce and frame the spirituality for the coming new age. It is not surprising that this monumental work would take time to develop and that the material would need to be carefully refined until it exactly accomplished its task. It may be helpful to note briefly what appear to be several important stages in the development of this material. During the period in which Baba was writing the book, July 1925 to October 1926, and shortly thereafter, Baba discoursed on the subject matter to the Mandali. Most of these discourses have not yet been published. Portions, called the Meherbad Talks, were published in The Awakener, Volume 16, Number 1, pages 3 to 21. More material from that period is in preparation by the Avatar Mayor Baba Trust for publication in 2005. Note number 8, Sea Glow International, February 2004, pages 4 to 15. This Glow article refers to a manuscript on infinite intelligence from the 1925-26 period that is being prepared by the Avatar Mayor Baba Trust for publication. The manuscript appears to relate to the 10% that Baba gave Bao for the nothing and the everything. Pages 7 and 8 of the Glow article reproduce a chart that accompanied the manuscript. This chart, with minimal changes, appears on pages 2007 to 207 to 209 of the Nothing and the Everything. Over the next 2 years, Baba gave a series of discourses to the Prem Ashram boys that further elucidated this material. Note number 9. Apparently some of these discourses will also be published by the Trust in 2005. As stated in Lord Mayor, quote, Mayor Baba began giving discourses to the boys every evening from November 23rd. Baba would talk, dictating his explanations on the alphabet board for almost 2 hours at a stretch. While discoursing, Baba would explain the purpose of creation, the stages of evolution and involution, the subtle and mental planes, and the heavens, sections of the planes. He also explained the universe's innumerable suns and moons and planets, the evolving stages of gas, stone, metal, vegetable, worm, fish, bird, animal, and human forms. The states after death, heaven and hell, yogis, saints, gurus, and the avatar, God intoxication and musts, divine love and devotion, and many other spiritual points, end quote. Note 10, that was Lord Mayor, Volume 3, pages 975 to 976. A summary of these first formulations was dictated to Ramju Abdullah over a 5-year period and published in 1933 in a pamphlet entitled The Philosophy and Teachings of Sri Meher Baba, compiled from his own dictations. Note 11. The Awakener reprinted this pamphlet as a special edition of the magazine entitled Silent Teachings of Meher Baba. In November through August 1942, this material appeared in the Meher Baba Journal as revised and enlarged by Dr. Ghani Abdul Munsif. In 1934, Baba was busy arranging for a motion picture and preparing material for it. Baba described the film project. The film will actually demonstrate the purpose of creation, evolution, reincarnation, illumination, realization. The whole process of inner and outer progression up to the point of fulfillment of all life, which is union with God. The facts, as real experience, no human being has any idea of, but a God-conscious, perfect master sees and experiences it all every moment. The entire process will be portrayed and depicted as vividly as possible. Note 12, Lord Mayor, Volume 5, page 1875. In May 1934, Baba dictated a complete scenario for the film. For 10 days, he also dictated to Adi K. Irani a chart on evolution for the film. Note 13, Lord Mayor, page 1870. The next development of the God Speaks material. I'll read that sentence again. For 10 days, he also dictated to Adi K. Irani a chart on evolution for the film, the next major development of the God Speaks material. Adi said of the chart, he asked me to prepare the chart. He gave me all the points. The chart was so big, 12 foot by 12 foot, or even bigger. With the help of 2 or 3 persons, I worked out the entire chart, and at every point I went and showed it to Baba. The diagrams were there in the chart of the evolution of the different forms, the transformation of one form into another, and their descriptions. All were there. That chart was folded and kept along with Baba's book, the most important unpublished book. Note 14, The Awakener, Volume 18, Number 1, page 39 to 40. Baba described the chart in a letter in Baba described the chart in a letter in April 1934. Quote, I am preparing a detailed chart with illustrations explaining all the details about the creation, evolution, reincarnation, the planes, illumination, and realization for the film. That was in The Awakener, Volume 18, Number 1, page 38. Phyllis Frederick described the film scenario as a miniature God Speaks and opined that the chart must have been very similar to the chart done by Reino Gailey under Baba's direction that was included in the second edition of God Speaks. In 1938, Baba founded the Meher Baba Journal. Narina Machabelli made Baba promise to give a new discourse every month for the periodical. Baba submitted a discourse for every issue from November 1938 until the last in October 1942. At the end of each year, the monthly articles by Meher Baba were compiled into one volume. In this way, the first 4 volumes of the discourses appeared in book form. After the journal ceased production in October 1942, a subsequent volume of additional discourses was brought out, thus completing the first 5-volume edition of the discourses, which were printed for private distribution in India between 1939 and 1943. Note 16, Discourses, 7th Revised Edition, Shariar Foundation, page Roman numeral 8. While the focus of the discourses was on spirituality and everyday life, Meher Baba developed concise descriptions of his cosmology to frame the background, context, and outline of the spiritual journey. This provided a new opportunity to refine the basic material. The last development of the material prior to the first dictation of God Speaks occurred in May 1943. Baba called to Meherbad 125 followers who had sworn complete obedience and who were ready to aid in the Master's work. Note 17, Lord Mayor, Volume 8, page 2870. The subject of the meeting was the Divine Theme Chart, which appears in the supplement to God Speaks. Baba discoursed for 2 hours on May 17, 1943, explaining the chart. He asked all at the meeting to meditate on the divine theme for 12 hours on May 18. He said, "You have to follow this very carefully since it is very important. You have to ponder over it tomorrow during the internal silence." The explanations in Urdu, Gujarati, and Marathi will be given later by the persons concerned, with the aid of the chart. Much of this has already been told to you by me in bits and pieces, but now it has all been collected, and I will tell you the whole story. Note 18, Lord Mayor, Volume 8, 2878. I will make it so clear and easy that you will feel that you have got God in your grip. You will feel as if He is in your hands by intellectual conviction. Note 19, Lord Mayor, Volume 8, 2871. In May 1947, Baba began dictating to Dr. Ghani what was to become God Speaks. Note 20, Lord Mayor, Volume 9, page 3175, and footnote. Just prior to this, seemingly not by coincidence, Baba had Dr. Ghani read Hafiz's ghazals to him from late evening until 4 a.m. for 21 days. Note 21, Lord Mayor, page 3148 of Volume 9. Ghani appeared to be progressing more slowly than Baba wished in turning the material Baba had dictated into a manuscript, for in February 1948, Baba dictated an agreement that he made Ghani sign before witnesses. promising to finish the book by the end of May 1948. Note 22, Lord Mayor, Volume 9, page 3247. Even this wasn't sufficient to goad Ghani out of his, quote, lazy ways, because by November 1948, Ghani had still not finished the book. Baba continued dictating additional points. Note 23, Lord Mayor, Volume 9, page 3314. In 1952, at Myrtle Beach, as stated earlier in this article, Baba referred to Ghani's manuscript. Quote, I dictated all the points to Dr. Ghani. He worked on it, and now I find half of it has not been included. Half has been just as I wanted. I have brought the manuscript here, and when I am free, I will go through the whole thing and make necessary changes. Note 24, Lord Mayor, Volume 11, pages 3792 and 3793. Dr. Ghani died in August 1951. There was confusion among Ghani's family following his death. Baba sent for the manuscript. It is unclear whether Ghani hadn't finished it or if only a portion was able to be retrieved from the family. By July 16, 1952, Baba had reviewed the manuscript and concluded, now I shall take this manuscript home and I shall have to write the whole book over again. Note 25, Lord Mayor, Volume 11, page 3867. Baba began dictating the book again in August 1953. During the period in which Baba was dictating the book to Dr. Ghani, Murshida Ivy Deuce visited Baba for the first time. Baba arranged for Dr. Ghani to be present for this visit and to meet frequently with Murshida Deuce. Dr. Ghani was a Sufi. Murshida Deuce was to be the Murshida of Sufism in America under Mayor Baba. During this visit, Dr. Ghani went over a lot of Murshida Deuce's Sufi papers, and they had illuminating talks on Sufism. Dr. Ghani was to be Murshida Deuce's contact for correspondence with Baba until his death in 1951. At this meeting, a link in the Creation of God Speaks was forged. Dr. Ghani was the writer of the original manuscript, portions of which would be included by Murshida Deuce in the supplement to God Speaks. Murshida Deuce would be an editor and the publisher of God Speaks as it was rewritten by Mayor Baba. It seems natural that Baba turned to Dr. Ghani to write the first manuscript because of who Ghani was, though he was not destined to complete the manuscript. Upon Ghani's passing in 1951, Baba said, quote, of the many things I had to renounce and to suffer in this new life, the passing of Ghani is among the greatest. But this sudden wrenching away of Ghani is a disaster for me. To me, more than any of you, Ghani was unique. And of all the work that still remains to be done for me by others, there is much that could have been done for me by Ghani and no one else. That big head of his was truly a treasure house in which wisdom and wit were blended to perfection. We were intimate friends since our earliest years, and no one knows better than I how courageous and how loyal and loving was his heart. To me, therefore, Ghani is irreplaceable both as a friend and as a tool for my work. Note 26, Lord Mayor, Volume 10, 3728. The Mandali felt grateful to Ghani because, Quote, over the years, much that Baba revealed on a mystical level is owed to Dr. Ghani Munsif. It was because of Ghani that so many interesting explanations came from the Master. Whenever Ghani was eager to hear a discourse or explanation from Baba, he would say something in jest or somewhat sarcastically to goad Baba into giving a talk. Note 27, Lord Mayor, Volume 9, 3174. Ghani would never miss the chance of availing himself of, parentheses, Baba's good moods, and would lightly complain about something so that Baba would reveal some explanation about the inner path or God. Note 28, Lord Mayor, Volume 9, 3285. Baba reviewed Sufi gnosis with Ghani frequently over the years. Dr. Ghani wrote many articles on Sufi gnosis for the Meher Baba Journal. He also revised and enlarged Ramju Abdullah's first pamphlet on Meher Baba's gnosis, the philosophy and teachings of Sri Meher Baba compiled from his own dictation for the journal. He was the head of a group of Sufis in Pune. He was Baba's Sufi. Baba also said of him that Ghani had grasped and assimilated the points in the divine chart so well that there was nothing left for Baba to explain. Note 29, Lord Mayor, Volume 8, 2871. So it is not surprising that Baba turned to Ghani for the writing of God Speaks. It was also key that Ghani was a Sufi and versed in Sufi gnosis. Indeed, almost all the key people involved in God Speaks were Sufis. Dr. Ghani as the original writer, Murshida Ivy Deuce and Don Stevens as editors, Lud Dimphel as contributing editor to the second edition, and Sufism Reoriented, Baba's American Sufi group, as publisher of the book and to whom the copyright was entrusted. Note 30. In his will, Baba said he had transferred and permanently gifted the copyright to God Speaks to Sufism Reoriented. Baba made clear the connection to Sufism in 1952 when he met with Murshida Ivy Deuce and Francis Brabazon. He stated that he loved Sufism with all his heart, that he intended to reorient Sufism under his guidance, and that he intended to have God Speaks published by his reoriented Sufism. Baba turned to Sufism as the basis for God Speaks because, quote, in Sufism, all such points like grades, types, and sects of walis, the range of work, and heritage, and other subtle details on the path have been clearly and specifically mentioned. They have classified even the perfect ones according to their duties towards the world. Note 31, Lord Mayor, Volume 11, 3942. Baba said of Hafiz, the greatest Sufi poet, Hafiz has clearly narrated, one by one, all the stages of spirituality in his divan. Every complete ghazal refers to a certain spiritual state and stage for one who can understand it. Note 32, Lord Mayor, Volume 3, 980. Sufism extended throughout this avataric cycle. Quote, Zarathustra was the greatest Sufi. He was the father of Sufism, and its very foundation owes its creation to him. Sufism began with Zarathustra and ended with Muhammad. Note 33, Lord Mayor, Volume 4, 1196. Baba presumably said that Sufism ended with Muhammad to refer to the ending of Sufism for that avataric cycle. Baba emphasized that Sufism was dear to him and would continue as he reoriented it under his guidance for the new age. Baba returned to India after his 1952 visit to America. He took with him Dr. Ghani's manuscript and the realization that he would have to dictate the book all over again. The book, written out as points in 1925 and 1926, elaborated over the years in discourses and charts, particularly the chart for the film, the Divine Theme Chart, and the chart of the 10 States of God. The 10 States of God chart was dictated to Dr. Ghani as the basis for the original manuscript of God Speaks. Baba frequently referred to God Speaks as the book on the 10 States of God. In August 1953, in Dehradun, Baba began dictating God Speaks to Erich Jesawala. Erich jotted down the points and wrote them out at night. The next day he read to Baba what he had written. Baba continued dictating points to Erich in Mahabaleshwar in January 1954. Again, Erich jotted down the points, wrote them out, and read them to Baba. Baba's dictation to Erich continued through June in Satara. Erich completed his writing work in July. Bau Kulturi was given the duty of organizing the material into chapters and getting the manuscript typed. A local typist was hired to type it, working 8 hours a day. Bau read the material to him as he typed, and the manuscript was finished in about a week. In September 1954, at the end of the men's meeting, Lud Dimphel was given the manuscript to present to Murshid Adus and Don Stevens to correct the grammar and punctuation and prepare for printing. The following letter accompanied the manuscript. 79-A Grafton, Camp Satara, August 1954. Dear Ivy, this is to explain the enclosed manuscript for God Speaks, notes and articles on which Baba wishes you and Don Stevens to work in collaboration. As you will note, there are 2 separate packages. The file, marked number 1, contains notes and articles dictated personally by Baba, taken down and worked on by Erich. The packet, marked number 2, is the incomplete manuscript of Dr. Ghani's book that he was working on years ago, and which was revised by Dr. Donkin by Baba's orders. The final typing suspended for want of clarification on many points which could only be done by Baba himself. This was indefinitely postponed by the coming of the New Life phase, during which Baba stopped answering any and all questions on spiritual subjects. Hence, manuscript number 2 is far from final, was composed by Dr. Ghani on points and notes given by Baba, revised by Dr. Donkin, still has irrelevancies and discrepancies, and also has many very good and interesting points. Baba wishes you to take as main foundation for God Speaks manuscript number 1, dictated personally by Baba, leaving the sense in its entirety. He wants you and Don to make grammatical corrections, change the English of, alter the formation of any sentence or para you like, delete unnecessary repetitions, etc., etc. In short, present Baba's work in the best way you can. Take from manuscript number 2 any point, article, or chapter you like and think good. Correct any discrepancy you may come across in Sufi terminology in Ghani's book that you may wish to use. In short, Take whatever you like from Ghani's work to add to Baba's manuscript number 1 for the book. Then send to Baba the revised manuscript with any questions you may have. Baba will have it read out to him and will return the final to you for printing. You are allowed to write to him in regard to the book, and Baba will clarify any point that is doubtful or not clear. His love and blessings to you, Don and Charmian, by order of Baba. Mani. Because Murshida Dus lived in Washington, D.C., and Don Stevens and Lud Dimphel lived on the West Coast, copies were made of both manuscripts. Manuscript number 1, parentheses, dictated by Baba to Erich, and manuscript number 2, parentheses, Ghani's manuscript. Murshida, Lud, and Don worked on the manuscript separately through October 1954. Don and Murshida kept up a furious correspondence about the manuscripts. On November 14, Don Stevens traveled east and spent 2 weeks working with Murshida Dus on the book. Murshida noticed in her journal, "For 2 weeks we labored night and day over Baba's long involved sentences, trying to make them shorter, worrying about what somebody might misconstrue 100 years from now, etc. Just as we got up from the table where we were working on the last day, greatly relieved that we had managed to correct the main manuscript, manuscript number 1, a cable arrived from Baba that he was very happy in all that we had done, and we should now go ahead and do the preface and introduction. Baba's timing is always plain uncanny." Following Baba's direction to retain the sense entirely while correcting grammar, punctuation, etc., turned out to be a difficult task. In a Glow article, note number 34, Glow International, May 1996, The True History of Avatar Meher Baba's book God Speaks, page 4 to 7. In a Glow article, Murshida wrote, "We began trying to work over sentences that were whole paragraphs long. Meher Baba had not indicated punctuation in his dictation, but the words flowed so beautifully that I was at a loss to decide what could be excised. But nothing could be cut out, and we would go over and over trying to find some way to stop a sentence and start on another one without losing any of the flavor." Murshida described another problem in her journal. Since Erich felt Baba is God, practically everything in it was capitalized or hyphenated, and I nearly put my eyes out trying to go over it. Punctuation turned out to require compromise between Don and Murshida. Murshida noted in her journal, "We have a strange combination because I was trained in earlier methods of classical English, while Don has become accustomed to the modern practice of practically leaving all punctuation out altogether. I became so distressed over this that I discussed the matter with His Excellency Charles Malik, the ambassador from Lebanon, who was a professor at Beirut University for many years. He laughingly said that modern writers know nothing about punctuation, that if I wished to see proper punctuation, I should read the King James Version of the Bible, and he cited Sir Winston Churchill's Memoirs as a good example of modern punctuation. Since Don has much admiration for the famous Dr. Malik, he yielded me some commas when I got too distressed, and I tried to be magnanimous by not resisting too hard the omitting of many such commas. Baba's sister Manija wrote me that she was completely satisfied with the whole job, except that she wanted 2 more commas, which amused us no end when I showed it to Dawn. Manuscript number 2, Ghani's manuscript, presented a different set of problems. As mentioned earlier, Baba had instructed Murshida take from manuscript number 2 any point, article, or chapter you like and think good. Correct any discrepancy you may come across in Sufi terminology in Ghani's book that you may wish to use. In short, take whatever you like from Ghani's work to add to Baba's manuscript number 1 for the book. Baba reiterated his earlier instructions to Murshida in a letter from Mani dated October 23, 1954. Ghani's work is merely a deposit for you to draw upon to incorporate in the main work, which is Erich's, and that you are to take from Ghani's only what bits you like and think best. Dawn thought Ghani's manuscript was quite hopeless and preferred not to use any of it. However, Murshida felt that since Baba had asked her to include any part of it that she found valuable, then she should look at it carefully. She too was distressed by the material. In a letter to Dawn dated October 1954, Murshida wrote, "I am appalled that after all the frustrating, time-taking job of dictating with his fingers so much to Ghani, the latter came up with this. The worst of it is that there are so many questions for Baba to answer." Murshida persevered and selected, edited, and corrected material from Ghani's manuscript. It was decided that this material would be included as a supplement to the main book Baba dictated to Erich. The supplement was well received. Mani read it before it was read out to Baba and wrote to Murshida on January 5, 1955, "I've been going through the supplement and I liked it very much indeed. You have presented it most lucidly and very interestingly. That will be read out to him after the main script. Wishing to invite second opinion of someone equally interested, I asked Ramju to read it. He too liked it very much and agrees it's extremely well done." The manuscript prepared by Murshida and Dawn arrived in India on New Year's Day, 1955. On January 5, Mani wrote to Murshida, "This is just a line to let you know we have received the manuscript in the 3 packets, including the charts." Work began immediately on the manuscript. Baba is having it read out to him daily in parts by Erich. I'll let you know the comments on it when they're finished. The whole thing will be returned to you as soon as possible with whatever corrections or alteration by Baba and Erich. Baba worked quickly. On January 6, Mani wrote, "This afternoon, when Baba came from the Mandalis, he handed me a number of points as regards the manuscript, which were written by Erich according to Baba's wishes in the matter, and which I am typing word for word. Contrary to his former intention of having Reno and myself read the manuscript before returning to you, Baba wishes me to immediately return it with the points enclosed, which he wishes you and Dawn to carefully put your minds to. He wants me to tell you and Dawn that he is highly pleased with the whole thing, which will be perfect after the little adjustment, as mentioned herein under the points, is seen to by you and Dawn. Baba wants you to both to work wholeheartedly as ever on the points mentioned. After seeing to the points, Baba wishes you not to return the manuscript to him for rechecking, but to send it straight to the publishers for printing. As you must know, dear Ivy, in spite of fast and working, the entire manuscript, word by word, has been read out to Baba, who has ordered corrections or additions wherever necessary. Also, they have been examined by him. One chart, parentheses, the journey, and the supplement will be sent separately in 2 to 3 days. That too will be read out to Baba. In the points, Baba made a correction to the chart Sketch of Plains and asked that the preface explain why there are so many repetitions, which Baba explained in detail in the points. 3 days later, Mani wrote, I am returning herewith, according to Baba's wishes, up till page 269 of the supplement, which has been seen to meticulously by Baba personally, while Erich read it out, parentheses, with Ramju interjecting his points in question regarding it. Baba and all who heard it are very much pleased with your work, dear Ivy, and all corrections as made by Baba have been put down in red ink. Parentheses, please find 2 editions on typed slips attached. Apart from attending to it during the last days of his fast, it has been a very long and arduous task, with infinite patience on Baba's part. For without the board, or ABC gestures, to have to convey sentences and technical terms or names to the secretaries, noting it down has been truly a divine job. The latter part of the supplement will be returned in 4 to 5 days. It is more complicated from the subject angle and will take time. In the meantime, he wishes me to return this half immediately to you. Enclosed is also the chart, the journey, with corrections and additions as marked in ink. These should be put in. With a letter sent sometime in January or February 1955, Baba returned the second half of the supplement. Dear Ivy, returning herewith the remaining half of the supplement, entire. The delay in returning has been unavoidable, as will be noted from the corrections and additions Baba has made. Some of the pages needing many corrections or overhauling, as pages 279, 284, 289, 294, footnote for 297, 302, 311, or complete additions, parentheses, such as 270, parentheses 1 to 270, parentheses 6, have been retyped in blue. Baba has wanted me to type the notes as taken down and worked on by Ramju and Erich under Baba's direction and guidance. He therefore wants you to note these changes, these pages carefully, and make all necessary grammatical corrections or alteration in the English for greater clarity or expression, keeping the sense entire. Your original pages, parentheses, corrected, are attached correspondingly to the freshly typed ones. On many other pages, the corrections were done in red pencil, red or blue ink, parentheses, not retyped for lack of time, and the Mandali concerned wished to convey their regrets about these corrections not being inserted more tidily. One of the great reasons being great rush of and lack of time, parentheses, especially in the case of Erich, who also had to see to his other multifarious duties in spite of, and Ramju working on it far into the night at times. The contents were read out to Baba by Erich, with Ramju to help incorporate points in question, and another Hindu disciple, parentheses, Bao, playing a strange role. For overcoming the impossibility of conveying through ordinary gestures the terms or names in Sufism and Vedantism, and sometimes a word or essence not to be grasped through Baba's patiently repeated gestures, Baba would have the Hindu disciple recite the alphabet ABCD, stopping him with raised hand when he reached the first alphabet letter of the word Baba had in mind. Starting all over again, Baba would stop him at the second letter, and so on, laboriously, until the word or sense or sentence was complete. This is why it took so much time to return it to you. Baba worked 4 to 5 hours daily, 4 to 5 hours at it daily, listening, correcting, adding. I am only writing this for I know it will interest you and Don to know how, in spite of his self-imposed handicaps, Baba has minutely attended to this book that you both are working on wholeheartedly. I think it would have done dear Gani's heart good to see the numerous points Baba has corrected, changed, and added. Signed, Manija. After a final typing and proofreading, the manuscript was delivered to the publisher on March 14, 1955. Baba wished to have a major, well-known publisher for the work. Dodd Mead agreed to publish the book, and Baba was pleased. However, Dodd Mead would not finance the publication. Murshid Adus was concerned about the ability of Sufism Reoriented to raise the funds to publish the book. She noted in her journal, quote, "We have been under tremendous worry as to how we could possibly manage the financing of Baba's book. We managed, by writing to Baba lovers and mentioning our problems, to collect about $4,000 toward this project. In the nick of time, we were able to sell for some $9,000 cash our remaining Sufi property in Fairfax, California. Baba agreed to autograph 498 copies that could be sold at a premium to help with the financing. Though the basic manuscript had been delivered to the publisher, there were still a myriad of details relating to the design and publication of the book to be resolved. One of the most difficult was the jacket cover. Murshid Adus wrote in her journal, "One of my big problems was devising this jacket cover. Various people sent me photographs that they thought might be suitable. Actually, it was Mr. Dodd of Dodd Mead, the president, who himself suggested to me that we have a photograph on it. And while I looked over everything that I had, nothing pleased me, nothing pleased Mani, nothing actually pleased anybody else when you come to presenting our beloved to the public. And we had the best, most current picture taken of him during the September meetings inside the book. Suddenly, as if by someone prompting me from the invisible, I remembered a photograph which I had accumulated, rather Charmian had accumulated during her trying to get pictures of Baba while she was abroad with Baba in Switzerland. This particular photograph had been taken by a Swiss woman named Hedy Martens." Note 35. Hedy Martens took the photograph of Baba in Ajmer, India, in the 1930s. So I sent it up to the publishers and told them I thought this should be the cover. And they were quite taken aback. They just couldn't visualize this at all. And when they got it made, it was so much prettier than they had ever thought, and certainly so much prettier than I had expected, that we were all tremendously pleased about it. So was everyone in India. Mani wrote on May 27, 1955, "We received the jacket cover and it was opened before Baba. I was prepared anyway for the best picture, after Don's calling it a knockout, but what we saw was so breathtakingly different from anything we could possibly have imagined. My first "oh" was soon buried under a pile of exclamations from the others. It really is unique and terrifically effective. Baba is very pleased, and you should have heard Reno ecstatic over it. One can feel in there so much force and unspoken things. God certainly speaks on that cover. My congratulations to Mr. Bond, too. The coloring and type have been most beautifully done. Another interesting detail was the dedication. The dedication to God Speaks, parentheses, to the universe, the illusion that sustains reality, close parentheses, was suggested by Murshid Dus. In December 1955, Mani wrote of the dedication in a letter to Murshid Dus. Everybody loves the little piece you have chosen to go in front of the table of contents. Your idea of the dedication has produced beautiful results. As Darling Baba uses gestures alone, it took my dense brain 10 whole minutes to get the wording he gives for the dedication. Many people have reported they were puzzled by the dedication, as Mani was initially, because it seems to reverse the expected statement, namely that reality sustains illusion. How does illusion sustain reality? Illusion is necessary for perfection. Quote, perfection does not belong to God as God, nor does it belong to man as man. We get perfection when man becomes God or when God becomes man. The infinite, therefore, has to discover its unlimited life in and through the finite without getting limited by its process. God's perfection is revealed only when he manifests himself as a man. When there is a happy and conscious blending of the finite and the infinite, we have perfection. Close quote. Note 36. That was from the Discourses, 1967, 3-volume edition, first volume, pages 119 to 120. The book was published in November 1955. At the series of Sahavas for 4 language groups in India in 1955, Baba emphasized the importance and unique nature of God Speaks. In his instructions to the attendees, Baba said, I want you all to take particular note that I would feel happy if each of you not only possessed, but read and digested God Speaks from the first to the last page, as the last book of its kind by me. I will likewise be happy if those among you who can possibly do so will see that this work is translated and made available in as many languages as possible for those who cannot read and understand English. Note 37, Lord Mayor, Volume 13, 4662. You will find, quote, you will find God Speaks a very unique book. Never before have such things been disclosed by me. You will understand through your mind the why and wherefore of your being. Note 38, Lord Mayor, Volume 13, 4713. Baba wanted the book well publicized so that as many as possible might read it. Murshid Dus describes her efforts to obtain publicity in her book, How a Master Works. After God Speaks was finally published and received, we suddenly realized that getting the book published was one thing. Getting it known and presented to the public was another learning step. I wrote many letters to people influential in various sociological, humanitarian or academic fields and sent them the book for review, with quite startling results. The great professor Petirim A. Sorokin of Harvard blasted the whole thing, although he had written a monumental tome on love. Other distinguished people to whom I sent the book were, parentheses, the writer, Dorothy Thompson, parentheses, the historian, Arnold J. Toynbee, parentheses, the writer, Aldous Huxley, and, parentheses, the astronomer, Fred Hoyle. Miss Thompson replied that she did not understand the book and she did not think anyone else would. Dr. Toynbee said he was too busy to read it. Mr. Huxley said he had to spare his eyesight for his own writing. And Dr. Hoyle, whom I had expected to be delighted with Baba's confirmation of his speculation that perhaps consciousness could expand, just like the universe, never acknowledged receiving my letter or the book. However, the scholar W.Y. Evans Wentz wrote a marvelous review. Quote, or colon, no other teacher in our time or in any known pastime has so minutely analyzed consciousness as Meher Baba has in God Speaks. Occidental psychology, especially under the illustrious leadership of Dr. Jung, has made great advances in the study of the unconscious and of the dream state, but because of its necessary adherence to conservative methods of scientific research, it has not been able as yet to fathom the deep of the seer. So for the science-circumscribed psychologist, God Speaks should prove to be of paramount importance in inspiring further progress on the psychological pathway. Correlatively, noteworthy in particular is Part 8 on the evolution of consciousness and Part 9 on the 10 states of God, to which is attached a diagram linking together, quote, the most generally accepted Sufi, Vedantic, and Christian mystical equivalents. As a whole, the book makes clear the at-one-ment of the essentials of the various historic religions in the light of the gnosis of the Sufis. Meher Baba's enlightening treatise adds much to the sum total of learning and contributes incalculably to the enrichment of mankind for, as the sages of Asia teach, the most intrinsically valuable of all riches. And greater than mundane wealth is right knowledge. Baba demonstrated his wish for publicity for the book by agreeing in 1955 to be filmed for TV during the Sahavas in India. He said, God Speaks was dictated on the board. Don Stevens and others in America are connected with publishing and printing this work. To impress the American public with the value of the book, Don and others want to take a film of me dictating on the board for television so that millions may see me. They want to show how Baba has dictated it. This television scene for the book's review will be helpful. It will be good publicity. Don asked me to use my alphabet board for a while. As you know, I have thrown it away as of October 7th, 1954. But for this book, I have promised that I will use it. Note 39, that's from Lord Mayor, Volume 13, 4676. In 1958, Murshid Dus sent Meher Baba a list of questions she had noted during the preparation of God Speaks manuscript of the God Speaks manuscript. Mani indicated she did not think Baba would have the time or energy to answer these questions. But when he went to Myrtle Beach later that year, he handed Murshida a manuscript saying, "Ivy, here are your questions. You can read the answers or burn them or throw them away, or you could print them." Note number 40, Glow International, November 1999, 7. Baba had dictated the answers to Dr. Deshmukh, and K.K. Ramakrishnan typed it out, proofread it, stitched it in book form, and put a pink cover on it. Note 41, Lord Mayor, Volume 15, 5382. Murshida chose to print the answers, and so an additional supplement to God Speaks appeared, published separately, titled Beams from Meher Baba on the Spiritual Panorama. As early as 1956, Baba wrote Murshida Dus about suggestions for further future editions of God Speaks. Among them was the following in a letter from Mani that February. Quote, "Now, one thing Baba wants you to do for future editions, and that is to add at the end of the book his previous article, Existence is Substance and Life is Shadow. This should appear at the complete end of the supplement, sealing the book as he put it." End quote. During his seclusion in 1967, Baba worked on additions and revisions for a second edition of God Speaks. In 1967, Murshida Dus wrote Baba saying she would like to include a glossary of Sufi and Vedantic mystic terms in the second edition. Baba approved, and Lud Dimphal worked on it. Note 42, that's in Lord Mayor, Volume 19, page 6278. In the fall of 1967, at Guru Prasad, quote, Baba was checking and correcting a glossary of God Speaks which Lud Dimphal had prepared. Bal Natu would read out every word and its meaning, and when required, Baba would correct a point. Close parentheses. And note 43, that's in Lord Mayor, Volume 19, page 6369. Lud included a chart he had drawn lining up all the stages of the spiritual path and including it with the glossary when it was sent to Baba. In 1969, Erich gave everything back to Lud with Baba's corrections and informed Lud that Baba wanted both the chart and the glossary included in the next edition of God Speaks. In 1969, at the last darshan, Erich gave Murshida Dus all the corrections and suggestions from Baba for the second edition. On November 15, 1969, Erich wrote, "Today I have posted you by registered airmail book post a file, parentheses, file number 1, fair typed copy, close parentheses, of 121 pages plus charts of all suggestions and changes for the second edition of God Speaks. I shall post one more file, an extra one, parentheses, file number 2, typed copy, close parentheses, after a day or two to ensure safe delivery. The files, parentheses, 2 copies, I have sent now contain up-to-date suggestions and all necessary changes and corrections, plus additions and corrected glossary and charts. Therefore, to keep the old file would be useless and confusing. I have destroyed mine." End quote. The second edition, revised and enlarged, of God Speaks was published by Dodd Mead in 1973. The publication was financed by Sufism Reoriented. The most recent printing was undertaken by Sufism Reoriented in 1997 with the accompanying note. This volume is a reprint of the revised and enlarged second edition, first printed in 1973. The substantive content of the book remains unchanged. Design and layout have been modernized. The format has been slightly altered for grammatical and stylistic consistency. Note 44. God Speaks, page Roman numeral 6. Because of technological improvements in India, Sufism Reoriented was able to arrange an exact reprinting of this new edition in India through the good offices of Meher Maunavani Publications. Sufism Reoriented subsidized this printing so the book could be sold at a very reasonable price in India. Baba said of God Speaks that it was the first and last book of its kind. In 1927, he explained that this book was the first of its kind by the Avatar. My explanations are quite different from the scriptures of any religion, and they have nothing to do with the Shariat aspects of religions. None of the great masters in the past has given such explanations as I have. They were great masters, great prophets, and they realized so many souls. However, what they gave or left to the world was only Shariat, sweet syrup. They gave internal knowledge, parentheses, gnosis, only to their close disciples, who were very, very few. What they said and what was written down to make books was only the knowledge and rules of rituals and ceremonies, appealing to the ordinary minds of the time, while what I give is the explanation of the knowledge that is beyond the scope of the ordinary intellect to grasp and understand. Even though these explanations are mere shadows of the real knowledge, they are beyond the mind to follow. The very foundation of all my explanations is sanskaras, which no religion has explained. I have so clearly and logically put it. Nowhere are sanskaras explained so elaborately or so eloquently. Note 45, Lord Mayor, Volume 3, 834 to page 835. For the first time, the Avatar explains publicly in book form the details of evolution, reincarnation, involution, and realization. It is time. Baba said that his incarnation was the last in a cycle of cycles and would introduce a new age, an age of the new humanity, which would make the leap from reason to intuition. Mankind, on the cusp of this momentous change, is ready for the Avatar's first full explication of the journey of the individual soul. Why Baba said God Speaks was the last book of its kind requires conjecture, as he did not explain this statement directly. Note 46. Baba made various statements throughout the 1950s that God Speaks was to be his last book on the subject. However, in 1967, when Baba was dictating the points for the nothing and the everything to bow, it appears Baba had reconsidered. Baba stated that the 10% of the secret book not included in God Speaks, would be covered in the book he was now giving Bao, The Nothing and the Everything. Nonetheless, it seems that Baba meant it to be understood that he, as the avatar, was finished with the subject for the reasons discussed above. So back to the story. I'll just read that last sentence again. Why Baba said God Speaks was the last book of its kind requires conjecture, as he did not explain this statement directly. However, it follows naturally from an understanding of the coming new age, when the new humanity will know and understand not through intellectual formulations in the written word, but through the living spirit. In the conclusion to God Speaks, Baba suggests that the purpose of the explanations in God Speaks is to, quote, to appease the intellectual convulsions of the mind of man, close quote. Note number 47 was from God Speaks, page 190. In short, man's reason. Quote, God cannot be explained, he cannot be argued about, he cannot be theorized, nor can he be discussed and understood. God can only be lived. To understand the infinite, eternal reality is not the goal of individualized beings in the illusion of creation, because the reality can never be understood. It is to be realized by conscious experience. Note 48. From God Speaks, page 190. In Baba's new age, man will be led by intuitive experience of love and divinity rather than reason. Quote, the coming civilization of the new humanity shall be ensouled, not by dry intellectual doctrines, but by living spiritual experience. Spiritual experience has a hold on the deeper truths which are inaccessible to mere intellect. Intellectual explanation can never be a substitute for spiritual experience. It can at best prepare the ground for it. Close quote. Note 49, that's from Discourses, 1967, 3-volume edition. First volume, page 20. God Speaks is the last full, detailed explanation of the 10 states of God, including an explanation of the process of involution given as an appeasement to the intellect to prepare the ground for spiritual experience. In the New Age, man, bathed in the light flooding the universe from Baba's manifestation, will respond intuitively to this light. The knowing of the new humanity will be through living spiritual experience, and there will be no need for a new God Speaks in the next age. Whether it is the last book of its kind or not, it is the first full explanation of the fundamental mechanics of life and the universe. The first to minutely detail the journey of the individual soul from its time of creation until it has completed its function in the evolution and involution of consciousness and has reached the goal. Quote, the goal is to realize the reality and attain the I am God state in human form. Note number 50 is from God Speaks, page 190. So the story of God Speaks is signed Ira Dietrich, President, Sufism Reoriented, 2005.